Hello, pipe smokers of Ireland. This is the Pipepastor coming to you once again, and I have one of my favorite people over here, one of my sons, my adopted son, Marco. Marco's been on a video once before. I haven't let him come on for a while after that because he doesn't say nothing.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Marco's a new daddy. There's a gorgeous little daughter named Olive. Olivia, but we call her Olive.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a son on the way, and great dad. Him and his wife, just great parents. Beautiful daughter. And
We have the best example.
hmm?
Mm-hmm. You and Sujay.
Well, let's just hope that your daughter's not as fiery as Shekinah.
We'll find out.
Oh yeah, I got a feeling she's gonna be, which is a good thing. In some respects, it's a good thing. But we're hanging out today, and we're in our discussion. By the way, I'm smoking this is a Parks. It's supposed to be Canadian, but most of the time I have my Canadians half stacked. So it's not a pure Canadian, it's a half stacked Canadian. Gives me a little bit longer smoke. This is a very unusual. It's not an acrylic, it's something softer than an acrylic. It's not ebonite, it's not any of the ites. But very comfortable on the teeth, and nice kind of a yellowish tinge to it. And Michael Parks makes a decent pipe. I think they're a little bit overpriced for the pipe itself. He's a kind of an artisan. He's a Canadian. He's made a couple of pipes for me, and I've been real happy. And he makes a decent craggy rustication to it. And so this is a good pipe. This is probably about an hour, hour and a half smoke. So I like to smoke pipes like this when I'm doing my sermons and such, because they last a little bit longer. And that's a fine looking meerschaum you're smoking, coloring up real nice.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can get the camera for everybody.
What's the make on that baby? That's a lion, and Marco's last name, Ruelas, the crest for the Ruelas clan, is a lion.
Yeah, so it's got some flower designs on the back and on the stem.
Isn't that nice?
And then the hand. And this is by Agum. I believe his website's Meerschaum Pipemaster. I can't remember the exact website. But my wife got me this for Christmas a couple Christmases ago, and I really like the stem on it. It's got a nice marbling on it, so all the way up, and then the design on it's really.
I love that kind of stem. Those kind of stems, and the kind of orange marmalade stems that Jay Cook makes in Jay Cook pipes. I really like that kind of stuff. So, in any capacity, I'm smoking Black Gold Plus. What are you smoking?
Same thing.
Black Gold Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. A convert.
The only problem with this, the bowl is really tiny. It's probably like half my pinky. So it's probably like a 30-minute smoke at most. I'll be switching to another one.
It's real comfortable in your mouth. It's real light. So it doesn't have any real teeth fatigue on it, any clench fatigue. Real nice, sweet little smoker.
Yep, my favorite pipe so far.
That is? That other one there.
Yeah.
This is a salve, and this is a real nice salve. Let's see, is that a rustication or a salve? Yeah.
So
real nice.
This was my first pipe that was given to me from your son.
Nick?
Ben.
Ben.
So that one's got a bigger bowl. And this one died again.
Right on. So in our continuing pipe smoking discussion on the favorite book I think that hobbits would probably prefer in the Bible, which is the book of Ecclesiastes. we've been working our way through, picking here and there, cherry picking as you were, some verses in Ecclesiastes that are absolutely profound. And today's particular discussion is on Ecclesiastes 4 and verse 4. So if you have a Bible with you and you want to read that, that's great. Let me just go ahead and read what verse 4 says. It says, this is Solomon now, the smartest man who ever lived. And he said, and I saw that all toil and all achievement spring from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. If you work hard and you chase after something and grab it and it's vapor, basically there's no meaning to it, there's no significance to it, there's no lasting value to what you work so hard to grab hold of. And he said that that's what envy does to toil. If you have an envious spirit and you're working hard, that takes your hard work and it renders it meaningless in the end. So we want to talk about that. Some people might consider envy a positive thing in that it's sort of like admiration for somebody. Whoa, that guy has a nice car, or what have you. But that's not really envy, because envy in and of itself is always bad. It's always a bad trait to have, thoroughly bad, because it frustrates the person that is envious, and it frustrates them as they watch and see other people possess things that they don't have, and so forth and so on. Some people mistake envy as jealousy, or they think that jealousy and envy is synonymous. It's not synonymous. Sometimes envy and jealousy are used interchangeably, but the words themselves are absolutely distinct from one another, and they're distinct feelings or emotions. Jealousy is the result of the fear of losing someone or something that one person possesses or is attached to, while envy is the resentment caused by another person having something that one does not have, but that one desires for oneself. Envy means to bear a grudge towards someone due to coveting what that person has or enjoys. You look at a person, you resent them. That's probably the best word to accompany envy. Envy is a resentment of a person for having a particular thing. And Jesus listed envy as one of the evil things that come from within a person and that defiles that person, corrupts him. Synonyms can be used interchangeably. Envy and jealousy cannot really be used interchangeably. If you don't believe that, then try substituting envy for such statements in Scripture like the Lord Himself saying, I, the Lord, am a jealous God. Try substituting envy in there for jealousy. It doesn't work. God isn't envious of anybody.
Yeah.
But He's jealous in the fact that the thing that He loves the most, He's jealous of, over. Doesn't want anybody else to have that one particular thing, and that usually is said in relationship to other belief systems, idolatry, anything that would draw us away from Him. So jealousy is possessive and it's protective. It can be good, it can be bad. God's jealousy speaks to His possessiveness over His people, his wanting them and desiring them as His very own and no one else's. And so God can be jealous, and therefore jealousy can be a good thing. God is never envious. And it's the same way with us. It's okay for me to feel jealous over my wife if I sense someone else is flirting with her and puts my relationship with her in jeopardy. Jealousy is not good if it's a suspicion or a distrust that's unfounded over one's mate. But it would be okay for me to feel jealous over my wife if I felt that my marriage with her was being jeopardized by some punk that was flirting with her and trying to catch her attention. Jealousy is good if it's God. I'm jealous for God. I want God. I don't want anybody else to hone in on my relationship with God. But it's never good to be envious. Envy is acquisitive. It's resentment. It's selfish. It's always bad. It wants what others have simply because they have it and you don't. And it bears grudges against those who have what you don't. It even can accuse God of being unfair, that that person has something that you don't, that God blessed them and God did not bless you. Paul said our love for one another, the Apostle Paul said for Christians that our love for one another should be affectionate, it should be compassionate, it should unite us in our hearts or spirits, and it should make us intent on one purpose. It should lead us away from selfishness and empty conceit and cause us to humbly regard the other person's interests over and above ourselves. That being the case, if we're working together, Marco gets a promotion and I don't, I should be happy for him. I should be happy if he gets blessed, just simply because he got blessed. I'm more concerned over what blesses him than what blesses me, because I'm cool. I'm okay. I'm happy. I mean, I'd like to have a promotion, but if we're living according to the Ecclesiastes principle of ataraxia, then we're content all the time with what we've got. It'd be nice to have something else, but I don't need that something else to make me any more happier than I am right now. 1 Corinthians 13:4 tells us that love is kind and does not envy. So the kindness of love is committed to the welfare of others, whereas envy is not kind. It doesn't come from love. It doesn't mirror the kindness of God or our Savior, who saved us, the Lord saved us according to His mercy. It wasn't a very happy time for Him to give His own Son as a sacrifice for us, but He was concerned over us, and He wanted us to be in a right relationship with Him, and so He took it upon Himself to bring suffering to His Son in order to pay for our redemption. It's been said that envy is the stepchild of resentment, which occurs when someone lacks another's quality or achievement or possession and wishes that the other lacked it. Envy isn't just so much I want what Marco has, but that knowing he has it, I resent him so much. I want equally as much as perhaps wanting that thing. I want him to lose it. I want him to suffer the loss of that thing. I just resent him having it.
Or worse.
Yeah. So resentment is a key word when talking about envy. Aristotle defined envy as the pain caused by the good fortune of others. Can you imagine? That's envy. It hurts you when other people enjoy good fortune. What Solomon is saying here in Ecclesiastes is that we always choose to work more and more and earn more and more because we want the wealth, the fame, and the pleasure we see other people have around us. Now, Benjamin Franklin said, if you want to find out a girl's faults, praise her in front of her friends. Why? Because envious friends, seeing a girl praised, will want to cause her to lose that praise by bringing up to you some of the things they know of about her that are her faults. Envy, says author Bruno Martinuzzi, is the unmentionable emotion, and is perhaps one of the most pervasive and powerful of all disruptive emotions that affect our work environments. Do you see that in your work environment, envy?
Yeah, I've seen it in a lot of work environments. If the boss says you're doing a good job, they look down on you because they want that praise, or they look down on you because you got that praise and they didn't. Same thing with promotions. You get promoted, they don't, then they don't like you because you were friends 2 minutes ago, and then everything changes in their mind. So I've seen a lot of that.
They have a particular word for that, and it's called the water cooler principle. And it's where when workers gather around the water cooler, they usually the topic of conversation is your promotion, or someone in authority over them that they resent being in authority over them. That's That's kind of what makes up the discussions around the coffee machine
Coffee
or the cooler.
Yeah.
In one sense, envy is something we surrender or that we give into. Much of what we desire to own is already owned by somebody else. Think about that. Whatever you want that you don't have is probably already owned by someone else. And the commercial industry really capitalizes on that in their advertising and so forth. They present new products as very desirable. They picture people that are really happy enjoying what they own, and the goal of the commercials is to get you to covet what that person has and envy them for having it. They want you to desire what you see others desiring, owning, and enjoying. A word for this is called mimetic. And what mimetic or mimesis means is that we end up not only opening the door to envy when we envy, but we end up mimicking what the commercials themselves are suggesting other people are experiencing with what they have. And so we have to be very careful when we envy. Envy does open the door to two other things like it. It opens the door to lust and it opens the door to jealousy, but they're all different. Envy does open the door for more than just envy, but jealousy and lust and covetousness and greed, and all of that stuff that we're bombarded with, especially in America, through our crass consumerism and the marketing industry and its goal of making content people discontented in order to buy their product. So, in a word, envy is the opposite of ataraxia. And we've talked at length about this in our first couple of discussions on this, in which ataraxia was the Greek epitome of a happy life. It was the achievement of absolute contentment, that you really didn't want anything more, that you were able to rest in and enjoy peace of mind and feel meaning and significance in the life that you were living. Envy is not that. Envy is the opposite of that. It's discontentment and resentment over something that somebody else has that you don't. Covetousness is the desire, by the way, to have things God said we may or may not have, but that we can't have right now. And so if you're covetous for something someone else has, basically what you're doing is you're being critical or judgmental of God.
We're not giving it to you.
Yeah, and questioning His wisdom as far as the right time is concerned. And we talked about the right time in Ecclesiastes 3, that there's a right time for everything. And a contented person says, you know, I'd like to have that. And you know what? If God wants me to have it, that's fine. If He doesn't, that's fine as well. Envy is also connected, the book of James says, to selfish ambition. You know, my grandfather was not a very envious person. He grew a lot of his own food, worked really hard, and he had a side business. And my uncles were always bothering my grandfather to step up the technology of his side business and do this and do that to keep up with the times so that he could make more money and spread out and grow and so forth and so on. And my grandfather, you know, I can't remember what he said in Italian, but the equivalent was, I'm already eating 3 square meals a day. And basically what he's saying is, all I can eat is 3 square meals a day. Why do I want to make more money to get more food when I'm already eating as much as I can? And he was content with what he had. Covetousness and envy begin to come into play when we are willing to steal what someone else has in order to have it and feel justified in doing so. And so James says in his book, where comes wars and rumors of wars, strife and so forth? So where does all that come from? Where does it stem from? Envy. We want what we don't have and what somebody else has. And so envy is never, it's never a good thing. And it's something that you and I need to question ourselves about, especially in terms of the way we approach our work. How does under the sunner? Under the sunners are different than under heaveners. Under the sunners are basically atheists and secularists and pagans who deny that there's anything other than under the sun. They deny heaven, whereas under heaven, which is the code word Solomon uses, speaks to those people that do not practice what John Lennon sung about. They do not imagine that there is no heaven or is no hell. They believe in transcendence. They believe that something goes beyond the sun, that there is a God in heaven, there is a heaven waiting for them, and so forth and so on. But people that don't believe in heaven try to resolve their feelings of envy by working harder. They work harder to make more money so that they can then have the things that other people have. You see, an envious person feels diminished when you have something they don't have. I feel that you are threatening their existence when you have something they don't have. They feel like they've been shrunk or they've been diminished by your good fortune. And so what a person does to try to resolve that problem is they either try to work harder or they try to spend more on their credit card, which then makes so they have to work harder. And the problem is an envious person who works harder to get what they envy will never be able to enjoy it because there's always something else they want. And so the work that they're doing to try to get what they want will require them to continue to work and not have the time necessary to enjoy it.
Yep. You know, a lot of people work in 60 to 80 hour work weeks to pay off their house and their brand new car, and they're never home to enjoy it.
And how good is that? For those of you in Europe that are watching this, in Germany and Ireland, England, Australia, New Zealand, all over the doggone place, it's probably a stereotype of Americans that Americans are consumeristic and they're materialistic and all that, and indeed we can be as a country because we're driven off of the whole idea of marketing and enterprise and so forth. I don't think that makes capitalism bad necessarily, but capitalism can be perverted by those people who are not content. And Americans by far are not only guilty of this, but they're victimized by it. The Japanese word for overwork is karoshi, and it means death from overwork. And it claims as many as 30,000 victims a year, people dying from overwork. And it causes such a concern that the Japanese government has been forced to provide restitution to karoshi widows. So if you're a business and you allowed someone to work too hard and they died from overwork, you have to pay restitution. As Americans, we hear this and we think to ourselves, that's crazy. What are these poor people thinking? Yet Americans work harder than anyone in the industrialized world. Did you know that? More than the English, more than the French, way more than the Germans, the Norwegians, and recently more than even the Japanese. Americans take less vacations, work longer days, retire later, and many of us are working ourselves to death either literally or figuratively. And the question is, in the book of Ecclesiastes, is why? What's driving us to work so doggone hard? What drives us to work so long? If the truth be known, many of us are working hard more because we are driven by a spirit of rivalry. And envy has been said to mean rivalry. If you want a synonym for envy, it would be rivalry. That we want to rival what the other person has, what the other person is. And so we're driven by this spirit of rivalry and envy than almost any other motive. To work yourself to death is truly meaningless. This is what the book of Proverbs says. Solomon also wrote Proverbs. And he said in Proverbs 18:1, a loner is out to get what he wants for himself. He opposes all sound reasoning. Next week we'll talk about what's a better way. And the better way is not working, and it's certainly not working harder, but there is a better way. We'll talk about that next week. But how about you? Most of the guys I know that in the pipe smoking community frequent discussions with me and write to me and so forth and so on. They're all hardworking guys, really hardworking. And what's your motive for working so hard? Are you working to live, or are you living to work? And why? The marketing industry wants us to live above our means. So lots of people have bigger houses than they can afford, better cars than they can afford.
Or they don't even need.
Well, why do they do that, though? Why does a person buy a bigger car than they can afford or need?
To show off.
I mean, most commercials will say you deserve it. You deserve this. It's almost as if it's wrong if you don't have this. You deserve it. You want it, you deserve it. I've heard people use that. I went to a place that sold vacations. Guy found out that I was a pastor, and so he started using God language on me. Doesn't God want you to have the best? Wouldn't you want your children to have the best? Wouldn't you like your children to be happy? Doesn't God want you to be happy? I've known people that divorced because of that, because they weren't happy with their spouse. Doesn't God want you to be happy? Does God want you to be married to someone and be miserable for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Huh?
I've heard that before.
Well, that's what drives a lot, not only philosophically in America, but spiritually, religiously, theologically. They've done great damage to Christianity because of the doctrine of wealth and health, using the same terminology. But what Solomon says, what Jesus taught, what the scriptures teach over and over again, in order to have a happy life, is to be content with what you have. To enjoy what you have. Be like my grandfather and say, you know what, I'm eating is all I can. I don't want to work any harder than that. And if you cannot afford your house and it requires you to work overtime and it requires you to be consumed by your work, why don't you just get a dumb down, get a smaller house? Why don't you sell your new car and get a less expensive car? Gosh, there's an idea. Why don't you do what you have to do in order to live in your means? Remember what Solomon said? He said, so, knowing this stuff, enjoy your wife, enjoy what you're drinking. And most of you have no problem in that area. Enjoy your work, your toil. The only way you can enjoy your toil is if you're not toiling with an envious spirit, and enjoy the Lord. The Westminster Confession says, what's the chief end of man? And the answer is the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. God wants to be enjoyed, and He enjoys you when you enjoy Him. So, I don't know. You got anything profound to add to that?
I would echo what you said.
Wise man.
If you don't have to work as hard, you don't need to. I've found myself wanting to work more, but knowing I don't need to, because I have all my bills paid for. I don't need to work crazy hours.
Didn't you have like a big promotion you could have had at the other place you worked at?
Mm-hmm.
And you refused that?
Yeah, it was more stress than I wanted. And
Stress? Why would you want more stress?
It was more stress and only like a 10% bump in pay. And it really wasn't worth it. I'd be working more hours for a little bit more money. And I would be home less. So it wasn't worth it to me. My new job here, I drive a school bus, and it's one of the easiest things I've ever done, and I get paid very well for it. So I don't need to work really hard because I'm secure in that.
You know,
Work less, smoke more.
enjoy life more. I'll say smoke more. I'll get in trouble.
Work less so you can enjoy life more. That would be a better saying.
Hmm. It probably would be good in concluding to challenge you to define what happy is.
Mm.
Because if you're working toward happiness, you're in trouble. Because that suggests that there's something out there that you need to have that you do not have right now in order to be happy. And that'll never pan out. Never pan out. I would love to own a house in Carmel by the ocean. There's some houses over there. When I drive through there, oh man, I can't even fathom being able to live out there. Do I think that if I had a house out there, just simply having a house there would make me happy? I could have a house there and one of my kids could have cancer, God forbid. I could have a house there and have another heart attack. I could have a house there and who knows what else could happen. The house would not make me happy. You're working hard for what? To be happy? What's happiness to you? What makes Marco happy may not make me happy. What makes those people happy in Carmel may not be what makes me happy. I don't need it to be happy. I'm happy right now where I'm at. I'm content where I'm at. Does that mean I don't have ambition? Does that mean I don't want to improve myself? No. Does that mean I'm not competitive? No. What it means is I know that the end result of desire or want or competition or ambition itself will not make me happy. What makes me happy is the simple things in life that God has granted me, and I'm content for what I have. And so as a result of that, I can be happy being here with Marco and being here with you guys right now and enjoy my life thoroughly, enjoy my pipe, enjoy my life. And frankly, that's the desire of my heart for you guys. So we're going on 33 minutes, so we better bomb out right now. So I bid you all a very happy life. And Slanche, you want to add anything, my Mexican friend?
Enjoy life.
You got a Mexican word for that or anything?
Not off the top of my head. Salute.
Do you know any Mexican? That's Italian. Salute.
It's both.
Take care. Bye-bye.